is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find. Welcome to the One More for the Good Guys podcast, where good guys gather to shed light on the good life, the people, and the good things that make it that way. I'm Mike McGill with my co-host, Jamie Akins. Now, raise your glass, lend us your ear, and let's have one more for the good guys. You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man. Hey, everybody, McGill Billy here. Welcome back to One More for the Good Guys. I'm Mike McGill.
And I'm Jamie.
And we forgot that. You'd think after 56, 57, any rate, I don't care. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in this week. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for sharing with all your friends. We continue to see social media growth in all of the platforms on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all that good stuff. So we really appreciate the support. Go out, and if you don't know, if you've talked to all your important people, then go out and find some people that look more important and tell them about us and give us a like and a follow and all that good stuff. It is absolutely a free way to help the channel, and it truly does help the channel in the long run. So with all that being said, this is another episode with we've actually got a guest of ours here today. And but before we get into that, I'm going to tell you what I'm smoking. I'm smoking a little guy. It's looks like a Robusto size. I'm not sure of what they call it because I have no band on it. It is from our company Standard and Twain, and this is a company that we really like. We've pushed in the past, and this is an actual blind tasting review. So if you're looking for a Cigar of the Month Club, and all of them are sending out the same things these days, you can go to Standard and Twain, and they will send you a Cigar of the Month Club, and has this real teeny little URL code on it. And you smoke the cigar, then you scan the deal, and you find out what you were smoking, and you can actually do a true blind taste test of whether or not you like this stick. So just a really cool, progressive thinking idea from that company, and that's what I know. What are you smoking, Jamie?
Mine actually does have a label on it. It is one of the Cabañas, Nicaraguan.
Oh, yeah.
And if I recall, this was only available at JR's for a while, right?
That's right. And it's from the Altadis company out of who makes, name them, Monte Cristo, Romeo, makes pretty much all the legacy brands, but yes.
Right, but this is actually rolled with the My Father outfit, and It's one of our favorites. It's also Robusto, and about an hour and 15 minute smoke, so
perfect for what we got coming up.
Yep.
That also, real quick, that's the oldest cigar brand in the world, and as of this year at the New England Cigar Fest Expo, last year at the New England Cigar Expo, it was the first. It was the first brand that was put into the Cigar Hall of Fame.
Really? There's Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Okay. Nice.
The Cigar Hall of Fame.
All right.
Whether it's theirs or I don't know of another one.
Okay, so there is a.
It's online, yeah.
Okay,
the nice. Cigar Hall of Fame.
You want me to tell them what I'm smoking?
Yeah, what are you smoking?
I don't think we won't. I was trying to be humorous.
It's good for it's that timing thing. This is a drama. Hey, give a warm welcome to our great and longtime friend and our very first podcast guest, Mr. Mark T. Dunn.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. What have you been up to without the me spilling the obvious beans? You've gotten all your Well, first, let's say this. Plug anything and everything that you got coming up that you would like people to be a part of, Mark.
Well, cool. That sounds good. I'll not hesitate then, folks. Just lay your hands on the radio and get with us because you've got an opportunity today to purchase for the first time. Kick It Off on the Road with George Jones. Which is a memoir that I started working on several years ago.
Yeah.
And completed this year. It's now available on Amazon. You can go there right now and pick up a copy.
Yeah. Or 10.
The holidays are coming up. Yeah, get a few.
If you've got a country music lover in your life and or a music lover, it doesn't have to be just country music. Roads.
I think there's a lot in there. You're going to be reading about Johnny Winter and Freddie King and the Allman Brothers, and it's I had a pretty different journey to make it to country music, I guess. But it's something that I had the last 2 or 3 years had really focused on getting wrapped up, finished up. So the paperback is available as well as a Kindle version, an ebook, and there'll probably be an audio book in the near future. In the very near future.
You're still planning on doing that yourself, recording it with your voice?
Well, that's a long story. An attempt was made, and then it had to be. It was shelved. We may get into that. We may not. It was a lot more than what I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. And there's also 170,000 words right there.
Yeah, 500 pages.
It's a pretty daunting. What I'm thinking is recording my voice in a studio. And then AI in it.
Yeah.
And using a script, scan a script of the book and it'll. So I don't know. We'll see. But along with this, during the first part of the year, I really wasn't doing a lot musically. I was trying to get this kind of finished up, but I kept thinking, man, I wonder if the book might kind of open up some musical avenues for me. Because my little band had kind of reached the end of the road, and so one afternoon in April, I was working on the book up in my music room. All of a sudden, my phone rang, and it was Mick Harrison. I had seen Mick and Kevin Abernathy at Waynestock a little bit earlier, and Kevin and I have been talking about jamming for 10 years, and we never did. We never put anything together.
We have an episode for each of those guys, actually.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
they've been on the show.
Been guests.
But anyway, it was Mick, and they had just done South by Southwest in Austin, and something came up kind of last minute, spur of the moment, and Chris Bratta had been working with them, and Chris wasn't able to do it because it was, as I said, last minute. But I went out with them for a couple of dates, and then I started playing with them. And so it's just been a great summer. We musically hit it off immediately, pretty much.
Right.
And we did a record back in September out at Top Hat Recording, and Eric Amble that used to play guitar for Joan Jett. He produced it, and he's I think mixing it probably as we speak, possibly. But nice. Here's what everybody needs to get you pen and paper out on December the 29th. That's a Sunday. At 6 p.m., we're going to have the official book release party for Kick It Off for my book. It's going to be at Barley's in downtown Knoxville. My son's coming in from Los Angeles. He DJs out there these days. He's a vinyl DJ. But he's going to come in, spin some records while we shoot the bull and have some drinks with my friends. Mm-hmm. And then at 8:00, Mick and the high score, we're going to take the stage and do a set probably for about an hour or so. And then John Davis is going to get up with his band. Stu and Henry Pack. Cruz Contreras is going to be there. And also Mercy Lights. And so it's going to be a big evening, no doubt. And it's going to be the birthday show that Mick used to do. His is on, I think, the 28th. Mine is on the 30th.
Okay.
I think Sarah Washington's is on the, she's somewhere right in there too. And Benny Smith is on the 30th.
Nice.
And Benny's going to be involved with it too. So it's going to be a big, big evening, no doubt.
Well, that sounds wonderful.
Oh, let me throw one more thing. We're also going to collect coats for the Care Cuts program here in Knoxville. So bring a nice woolly winter coat that night, and we're going to have a blast. It's going to be a good one.
Nice.
But and I'll have copies of the book there. But the biggest thing we want to do is just have a good time. We want to have a party with
absolutely
to celebrate getting it done.
Yeah,
just getting the dang thing finished.
Yeah. Well, we've known each other for many years now and played music together.
Shoot, yeah.
All over and had good shows. And, I remember you talking about getting ready to do it. And then I remember you doing it. And then I remember, well, it's close. And then I remember it's halfway and it's almost done. And so I've kind of lived through. In
other words, I was dragging my damn feet.
Well, no, that's your words, not mine.
Okay.
But, no, it's just, I mean, I think about stories and different things that, we spin or we talk on, when we're running up and down the road.
Oh,
you don't think about it for a second. You just tell the story. But then I wrote some down the other day on my notes list. And, I came up with like 40 just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And I thought, I really probably should take an evening or two and just write that story down.
Exactly.
And then edit it if I wanted to, or, and either work it up as a bit or work it up as a series of little short stories of a book thing too. So that's a very daunting task to want to do that. And I'm sure there was and I know firsthand that there's a ton of work that you put into it, but it's got to feel good to have it done, right?
Well, it does. I mean, it was almost surreal. I mean, when I really realized it. But now this is cool though too. I got a sheet of paper front and back that has stories that didn't make it in the book. Some of them didn't make it because they were just too vulgar and lewd and bad.
Right.
Now, I think I'm going to document all of them, though, somehow, maybe orally, maybe record them, and then like 75 years after I'm dead, they can release them then.
Right.
So, but no, I mean, and they're not all X-rated either. Some of them are. I'll give you an example. Well, it's probably PG because Jones was all messed up the night that he did this. But he called Ron Gaddis, our bass player, called me and Ron to the back of the bus, and he was smashed. He'd been tooting for about 2 days, hadn't slept the night before.
Yeah.
I mean, he was wild. And so Ron and I walk into the stateroom in the back of the bus, and he goes, from now on, I want you two to call me Glenn. Nobody else. No one else in the band, just you two. But from now on, just call me Glenn. And we tried not to laugh. And I mean, we just kind of nodded our heads, I guess. And of course, the next day we were calling him George again, but Glenn was his middle name.
Right.
And some of the kinfolk back home in Beaumont, when they'd come around, they would call him Glenn. But to ask me and Ron to do it, when we're getting ready to go out and play in front of 7,000 people.
Right.
And, hoping he can kind of pull it off that night.
2 days. And,
yeah. I mean, it just, there were just so many. There'll probably be things that'll dawn on me, in a couple of years, something that I may have forgotten.
Right.
But I think I've done a pretty good job of jotting down the.
Well, you said it was kind of surreal, but when it finally showed up and you got it in your hands, how did it feel?
I mean, it was extremely exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, when I quit George and I didn't play music for many, many years as my son was growing up. And, but I always did there was always something that was just kind of missing, kind of lacking, even the things that I got to do with George and stuff, being on Learjets and, doing a lot of cool stuff.
Well, I guess it's kind of like an athlete, and because you get so used to this regimented and or this way of life, and then all of a sudden you either retire or injuries force you out or whatever.
And a lot of times,
and that's gone. So all the camaraderie and the people you meet, but
and it's when someone says, "Well, what do you do for a living?" For 10 years, I say, I'm a drummer. I play music.
Yeah.
And, that's a good feeling.
That's a pretty proud feeling.
When you can, and I guess, and I always thought, as a teenager, I thought I'd end up, in the Allman Brothers or the band or Mountain or Cream or, the Humble Pie or Foghat, these bands that I loved and Ronnie Montrose. I mean, that was what that was and then of course the soul, the R&B growing up.
Yeah.
Tip and Priscilla went to, this is a little bit off, but they went to the Stax Museum in Memphis.
Oh yeah.
My son and daughter-in-law, whom I'm speaking of, just a few weeks ago. And, man, they said it was just amazing. Al Jackson Jr.'s drums were right there that he played on all those Otis Redding records and Sam and Dave records.
Yeah.
And, it was just
all the records,
but all that stuff, that soul music, it had the same, it was no different than listening to Jones or Buck Owens it was just a different genre, but the emotion, the what's coming from in here.
Yeah.
Same. I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
That's where I can't really see it in some of the newer artists that I've seen, but maybe I haven't looked close enough. I don't know.
Well,
but I probably ain't going to do a whole lot more looking either.
Well, I can understand that. I can.
But no, it was like, hey, I've had a few little bands that just didn't work out and stuff, but it was like, by golly, this did work out this time. Dunn finally did pull something off.
Yeah.
So that was a good deal. But I mean, if I can just have musicians like it, I mean, I want all kinds of people to like the book. But if I have fellow musicians, I don't care, who or where if they say, man, I like that.
Yeah.
I guess the ultimate would be if I get Keith Richards to say, man, that's a pretty good book. Because his book's probably the best music.
Right.
Memoir I've ever read.
Yeah. I've heard that. I haven't read it, but I've heard that.
That was kind of my, that was my gold standard that I was kind of, there were actually 3 or 4 books that I kind of kept going back to. That one and a Leon Russell biography, and then the memoir that Dwayne Allman's daughter wrote.
Yeah.
Galadriel, that's an amazing book right there, especially if you ever like the Allman Brothers.
Right.
But those were kind of my 3 big ones and then Butch Walker's book. I'd borrowed it from Barrett Burcham. And, like a lot of times I think, well, how did Butch do the front page? And I'd look at, I ended up with black and white photos. I wasn't crazy about that, but, the way Amazon does it, if I wanted color, I'd have to pay the color price for every single page.
Right.
Even though I only had, 20 pages of pictures or whatever. But most people have said, I like the black and white, that it looks okay.
I wouldn't think it doesn't bother me.
It would never cross my mind to think, I wish these were in color. I read a lot, and so I wouldn't.
But I had a great graphic design guy out of Charleston that helped me out, Chris Burgay. And actually, I got a hold of Chris through a friend of Tip, my son's in Los Angeles. There was a girl, and she had done like a coffee table book. Her name's Marissa Madsen, and the name of the book is Pot Thoughts.
Okay.
I'm going to plug that for you, Marissa. But she had found this graphic designer down in Charleston, Chris, and she said he really did a good job for me. So I got in touch with him, and he did the cover and all the interior work, and just a really great guy to work with.
Well, it looks great. I like the size of it too. It's, to get a kind of a visual, it's not a, it's
the same size as Keith's book.
Yeah. Okay.
That's where I got my measurements from.
You did?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Honestly. All right.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Well, it's a good size. It's something that's not, that you're going to be able to.
And I kept asking Wayne Bledsoe, my editor, is it getting too long? Should I take this out? Should I take it? And he would, generally say, just keep on going. Just keep doing what you're doing.
And with the book being this size too, obviously pages are going to you're going to have a large number of pages, but it's not like it's not overwhelming. I'm a good reader, but I'm not a big reader.
Yeah.
And so when I get some of these books sometimes and they're, they look like the old road atlases, I'm just like, fuck off. There ain't no way I'm going to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm already, the book's already at a disadvantage for me because, it's like, I'll be asleep by the first, So this is very, more to me, it's not as daunting.
Well, and what you're going to see too, there's some really short chapters in there too. Right. There's some 2-page chapters. There's some 1.5 page, which is basically just a story.
Sure.
Right.
I've got 95 stories pretty much.
Okay.
Like I've been telling them for years and years and years. Now, there are some personal parts in it, and I tried to keep it kind of 90% music and 10% personal. And, I kind of knew what I would or would not want to talk about or
Yours.
But
how long did it take you to get your mind made up on that? Just, roughly as far as this is what I do want to talk about, or was that an ongoing thing as you were doing it?
I think it was really kind of getting close.
Yeah.
And it was in 2012, April. I can't remember the day. I've got it written down. But that was when I really kind of started on the book. And so right about that time, Tip came in for a visit.
Mm-hmm.
He'd been out in LA for 2 years, I guess. And I don't know if we ever even really talked much about the possibility of a book or anything. But I sat him down at the kitchen table. It's when we were living down Friendsville.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, buddy, I need to talk to you for a minute. I said, I want to get this book underway, and I want it to be truthful. And I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff that really me and you, have never kind of talked about. And I'm going to be talking about a lot of things that Dad did, and it's things that once again we've never discussed, my past and this and that. And Tip was very cool about it. He said, well, Dad, I knew that when y'all would get on the bus at the end of the night, that you weren't having Bible studies and stuff. It was, and so, that kind of took a load off my shoulders. I thought, well, I can write freely,
right.
And I don't want to, don't want to do anything but what happened, let me tell you this, because this is kind of interesting. So I decided, man, I'm gonna write this book. So I write the first chapter, and it's actually the second chapter in the book, and maybe even went a little bit further than that. And I could say it was difficult. It wasn't completely easy, but
Right.
I kept going. And so my sister read it, Diana, and she said, "Look, you've got to get them. You've got to hook them immediately." And she's an avid reader. She reads a lot.
Okay.
And she said, "You've got to get them on that first page."
Right.
And so I said, well, she said, it's got to be something exciting. It's got to be something that's, so I went back and I started on what is now the first chapter. And, I was really trying to go at it. And after 2 or 3 weeks, I said, man, this shit's hard.
Right.
And I thought, well, maybe I need to check into a ghostwriter or a co-writer.
Right.
And so I started fooling around with that a little bit for a few days. And then I realized, that she isn't going to know what was in my mind that
Right.
night in Athens, Georgia, when
Right.
that guy pulled out that shotgun. She
Right.
wasn't there. I was. She's just not going to be able to convey it the same way I would. And so I guess at that point I realized, well, if it's going to be done, you're going to have to damn do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I really kind of kicked into it. And so 10 years later come about, and I'm at about 100,000 words. And I thought, man, you're looking good. It's going to be okay. And I was thinking, I'll get it finished up probably before Christmas. And then I started realizing, well, you've left out this.
Right.
You didn't tell them about that. This makes no sense without the backstory. So I realized I've got a ways to go. And so I guess that would have been the start of 22, maybe.
Yeah.
And I did 70,000 more words probably by the end of that year.
Yeah.
And got it kind of towards finished up. But it just, golly, it would, and I mean, I'm bad about it. I mean, I can be kind of OCD. If only 2 people would know about this and no one else would ever,
Right.
it tortures me.
Well,
if I don't.
When you started talking about it, there was a point there that I was like, we have to be happy with that finished product. I mean, as musicians, recording the record, like the first Romeo's record, Andy and I talked about it.
Great record. Everybody get it if you don't have it already.
And I just said, we've got to, at the end of the day, we got to be happy with it.
Exactly.
Every time I put it in a CD player, anytime I put it, anytime I listen to it, I don't want to have a moment to where I'm like,
I wish I'd done this.
We should have, why didn't I listen to myself or take so-and-so's word on this? And, so I can empathize with you on that, because once it's out, it's out.
Yeah.
And there's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube, at that point.
Yeah.
So
I misspelled one of my cousin's names.
God.
She got a hold of me. Oh man, I was furious. Well, Vance Hillard in the high score, I misspelled Vance's name.
Oh yeah.
I was damn mortified. I said, Vance, I'll fix it. Because I think what we're going to do when there is some stuff that comes up, I've already got a few. Chris, my graphic design guy, he said, wait a little bit and get a few things, and then we'll fix them all at one time.
Mm.
And
that makes sense.
I resubmit the manuscript, and
right.
So we can. There's a couple of things in there that I said, man, I wish I hadn't. I used that, I wish I hadn't said that, or and so, but I think it's getting to the end where it's very. Hey, you'll like this when Kevin Abernathy. I appreciate it. I guess it was last night, 2 nights ago. I can't remember, but I was talking about being in a strip club in Fort Lauderdale, and the jukebox was playing Van Halen, Beautiful Girls.
Oh, yeah.
As this little girl was coming out there. And I spelled it Beautiful Girl. And I left off the S. And Kevin said, hey, man, except for a few MTV people, I mean, but I said, no, it won't be okay. Right. I don't like, I mean, to me, if I was an outsider, I'd say, look, he doesn't even know the damn song. I don't know. To me, you lose a little credibility when you, but they say that every book that's
everyone I've ever read
has something.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and hell, you can't even read an article that's this long now without some kind of misspelling.
It's
everybody leans so heavily on spell checker now.
Yeah.
And 170,000 words, man, that's 2 novels basically length. So I mean, if you're going to write that much, you're going to have some errors. I mean,
yeah. Well, I'm trying to do the best I can. I just like it to, I don't want it to look like an amateur effort, even though it is my
debut effort.
My freshman.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it's my only effort. I ain't writing another damn thing after.
Well, it's nothing amateur about the way it looks. I mean, if I saw that in the airport, I would think, oh, it's just it looks great.
That's cool. That's
and I love that size.
Thank you.
It would pack well. If you wanted to take it on a trip, you can take it with you to the park, or if you're going to the beach or the mountains or something. And
shoot, yes.
I love the size because, again, for somebody like me, it's like, even though it's a pretty thick book, it's not overwhelming.
Yeah.
That I'm not going to be like, fuck, no way, I ain't reading that.
Yeah.
Well, and whoever picked the font did a good job too, because it's spaced out correctly.
I told Chris, I use what they call Baskerville. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And that may have been Georgia, which was very similar. But he and I talked about it a lot. And I love the way that he did the cover with kind of the off-white.
I think it looks great, man.
That picture, you know where that picture was?
Where?
Reno, Nevada.
Okay.
I hadn't been with him, but
biggest little city.
I hadn't been with him, but just several weeks, or it wasn't long at all. But he was wearing that Harvey Krantz suit. See, he's got a tank top on.
Yeah.
And he had a short sleeve jacket that would go over it. It's very cool. This is the guy that started making his stuff when he got away from nudie.
Okay.
And Harvey made him some cool stuff. And then look at his boots there. Look at that toe on them. There's no more pointed than those.
No.
There was a guy named James Letty out of, I think, Abilene. And the band, we actually got a pair of them. He told us for about 2 years, he said, I'm going to get y'all a pair of boots from James.
Right.
And we were somewhere down there, and all of a sudden this guy shows up.
Lo and behold.
And they said, that's James Letty. And he had us stand on a piece of paper, and he would trace around our feet and this and that.
Right.
And then in a couple of months, we got these boxes. And the Jones boys, we were about to have, I about peed in my pants. We were getting ready to go to Europe in 86. And we were at the airport. We were at the damn airport. And Ron and I realized we didn't have our boots, those Lettys.
Oh, no.
Wow.
And we had to jump in a cab and go down to, it was down near 100 Oaks Mall. I mean, today it would be an impossibility, I guess.
Sure.
But we told the cab driver, we said, man, you think you can get us down there and back? He said, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
We'd gone about a quarter of a mile. Ron goes, hey, you wouldn't mind if 2 old boys had a smoke back here, would you? He said, no, I don't care. And Ron pulled out a big old doobie and we fired it up, and our nerves were shattered. But we made it back in time. God, John, he would have fired us. He would have had a heart attack
if you hadn't had.
If we had not had those boots, it would have been bad.
Was he was it just all over the board as far as him being a stickler with that kind of thing, or was
when he's straight?
Yeah.
When he's straight, he's huge.
Right.
But I mean, that was how you could tell when he was smashed. If his hair was messed up a little bit or something, you could forget it.
Yeah.
But
and how the hell does that hair get messed up?
I mean, he'd spray it down every night. You could park a car on that damn thing.
I know it, man.
That wedge coming out there. Ron called it the possum wedge. But now he,
oh my gosh.
He pretty much always wore jeans.
Yeah.
I never saw him with like slacks on, or like with lace-up shoes or something. No.
It's always boots.
Sometimes in the summer when he would wear shorts, he'd have tennis shoes on with black socks or something. It looked terrible. But he didn't give a shit. But usually, he'd have on a shirt, jeans, and boots. I mean, it was, I don't remember ever seeing him in a t-shirt really.
Right.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
But hey, this is crazy, but it's the folks might think it's kind of funny. I have become a big Formula One racing fan.
Oh, really?
I mean, I liked it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I liked it again after the pandemic and stuff. Uh-huh. And the other day they said that Kit Kat is now the official bar of Formula One. And that was George Jones' favorite candy bar.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Kit Kat.
Let's do a little contest here.
Okay.
I'll give you all a chance. Okay. But we're going to say 1980, like right when I first get the gig.
Mm-hmm.
If he was presented with a Budweiser, a Pabst, and a Miller High Life, which of those three do you think George would choose? Mike, we'll ask you first.
For some reason, I'm going to go with the High Life.
Jamie.
Bud Heavy, Budweiser.
Mike, you're the winner. I tell you what he liked was those little 7-ounce pony bottles.
Oh, yeah.
They were kind of big in the 70s right there.
Absolutely.
And he kind of liked them. At that point, I don't think we had Coors yet. When we would get west of the Mississippi, he would order a Coors.
Right.
But beer to him, he might have one or two, but
That's Weasel's piss.
he wanted Jack Daniels and 7 Up.
Okay,
Only 7 Up.
So that was his drink.
No Sprite.
Jack and 7.
Hell yes.
Wow.
Hell
I've just never been a Jack Daniels fan.
I haven't either.
I mean, it's rock and roll whiskey. It's not the greatest.
It's totally.
I can find some old single barrels that blow it out of the water. I mean, even cheap single barrels.
Yeah.
But he would have a screwdriver or a Bloody Mary. We were in Vegas one morning, and we had finished up a little run, and the bus was heading back to Nashville. And I don't know if it was when we just had one bus. I don't remember. But anyway, he didn't want to ride the bus, and he was going to fly back. And so he wanted me to ride with him. Mm-hmm. So we spent the night in Vegas, and they went ahead and left and headed towards home. And me and him were going to come back the next day, which we did. But we're walking down the hallway that morning. He goes, son, I tell you, I'm a little unsteady on my feet. Let's go get a Bloody Mary. And, I was about to throw up. I was so hungover. I felt terrible. I didn't join him in one, but we came back that afternoon, and he would, and they say down in Florida when him and Tammy lived down Lakeland, that he would keep vodka out where the orange trees were, and he'd pull him an orange and bite into it.
Wow.
Make him a screwdriver the natural way.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But man, it's a lot of this stuff's in the book.
Yeah.
And as I said,
we don't want you to spoil it for anybody. The biggest thing is you were our very first podcast guest that we had.
Man, I appreciate it.
And
I
we
want to
wanted
thank
to
you
get
guys.
you back once it was done. Well, you're very welcome. And we thank you for being here. But we wanted to get you back once it was finished and available to the public and all that good stuff.
Mike, I appreciate it. I really do.
Oh, you're welcome, buddy.
We've done a lot of good gigs together.
We have, and we've had a lot of good times.
Hey, we'll do some more too, I'm sure. But yeah, folks, be sure and give these guys a listen. One more for the good guys, and support them. And they got a good deal going here.
Well, we're trying. We're trying to be consistent and get a lot of on guest episodes, getting a lot of different folks that people might not have that might not have been on folks' radar. We had Matt Woods last week, and that was a really good one that
cool.
Everybody can catch up on if you haven't already. But Matt and I have known each other for a long, long time, and
great
probably
player,
hadn't seen any, and hadn't seen each other in probably 8 or 10 years, face to face.
Okay.
And so that was good.
He's doing the Christmas spectacular with us too.
Oh, excellent.
He's going to be in his first time on the spectacular.
All right.
He's never got to play the Bijou stage before. So
man, awesome.
That'll be a good thing. But
awesome.
Well,
that's cool.
I think you should be proud of it, Mark.
Well, Mike, one thing that I'm hoping, sets it apart a little bit is that it's from a sideman's point of view.
Right.
It's not written by a star. It's a star is involved in a lot of it, but it's from just the old, day-to-day blue collar, meat and potatoes kind of musician. And especially back then, it was just such a. So I think that may give it a little bit of a different slant, yet it still has a connection to a superstar.
Well, and we were talking about that earlier. It's, the business is the business is the business.
Yes.
And so hopefully anybody from production side to
a stage
side anybody can
exactly
what's the word I'm looking for? Can come on, brain, you can do it.
Relate.
Take that
anybody
cap off,
can relate.
Think better.
Shut up. You pissed me off. I'll tell you what. He's got more mouth than a boar hog's got.
I'm not getting in on that.
You shouldn't. Stay out of it.
I will. No,
they can relate because those. There's one thing to do out there on the road, and that's to interact with 4 or 5 different girlfriends that you have that you just happen to call band members, and then a boss, and everybody's got them, and that life is the life, So.
Exactly. Yeah. I was telling someone the other, many times I go across the country and not talk to anybody back home.
Yeah.
Because you could only make phone calls when you either got to the truck stop,
right? Because
the bus needed diesel, or number 2, when you got to the motel.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a different.
And it was long distance then. It wasn't like now where you could just call anywhere. Free.
But you've got to realize too, though, that reached even to management. The promoter of the show. There was no fax machine. There was no internet. There was no cell phone. There was no nothing. There were landlines.
Right.
Maybe there were fax machines starting to come about. I don't know. I don't know about that in 1980.
You certainly wasn't going to have one on a bus.
Oh, no.
No.
It was just a different
different time.
As you all well know, just the way the records were made back then.
We had a gig there, a little fill-in gig the other night at the Jig and Reel. They had a band cancel and called freaking out, and for whatever reason, with one day's notice, we were all, nobody had nothing to do on a Friday night, which is unheard of.
Except for Nate. We had to get
for Nate.
Fill in for Nate. Hunter Deacon came and played.
Okay.
Yeah, Hunter played with us. But
cool. Do the refills?
Yeah. And but I was telling the story, and we don't have to tell it. I'm sure this made the book, but I was telling those guys a story about Donner Pass.
It's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's let them wait for that one.
I was I was telling the guys, I said, yeah, Mark's coming up this week, and oh yeah, okay, we'll be sure to say hey. And I said, his book's officially out now. Okay, we got to go get it. And for whatever reason, that's, you've told me a number of them on road trips and different stuff, but that one popped into my mind, and I've told it to those guys, and they had a big charge out of it.
I just thought of one that you'll like. That it's not in there, but I have notated it. We had a good friend named Pee Wee Johnson.
Yeah.
Pee Wee Johnson made hot chicken before a lot of people down there made it. I mean, he was from Columbia, and people didn't talk about Nashville hot chicken really back then. I mean, you knew where you could get it and stuff, but it wasn't really, a big deal. But anyway, Pee Wee was a good friend of George's, and I met him immediately after joining up with him. But sometimes he would come out, he would get George coffee, kind of be a babysitter. And but one night in Nashville, when the Marriott used to be out there by Briley Parkway, it was painted pink. It was CMA week, and all kinds of activities, were going on. It's when Ron and Lori were both with us.
Okay.
And it was a wild night out there at the Marriott. And George was there. And at some point, Michael Waltrip, the race car driver, came into the lounge or something. And according to Pee Wee, he just kept aggravating George and bothering him and fucking with him. And so Pee Wee he didn't like that. He was getting angry. And so George said, I'm going to the room. I'm leaving. And so he left. And I don't remember if Nancy was with him or not, possibly. But Waltrip went over to where there was a house phone for the hotel. And he started dialing George's room number. Now, this is according to Pee Wee. And Pee Wee said, I watched him. I watched what numbers he was hitting. He said he was dialing George's room number. And Pee Wee said all of a sudden he grabbed the receiver out of his hand. The old receivers with the cord on it.
Yeah.
And said, leave him alone, and knocked the shit out of him. And I said, did it knock him out? Pee Wee said, I knocked his ass out. Hell yeah, I knocked him out. So I don't know if he really did or not. That's what he told us. But Pee Wee was he was a character.
Well, he was like a childhood friend of George's, wasn't he?
No. It was
getting something else.
It was later years.
Okay.
But
did he write some songs?
Who, Pee Wee?
Yeah.
No. Jerry Lee did a song called Pee Wee's Place.
Okay.
That's about Pee Wee.
Okay.
And the Red Hot Chicken and everything. So let's give it a listen. It's a
I
good,
will. I may have been. I was probably thinking about somebody else. Did you catch any of the? Did you catch any? And I'm trying to remember the name of it. Golly, well, it was just called George and Tammy. Did you catch?
I heard about it. I heard about it. Yeah, I didn't have. I don't have that channel.
I thought it.
I heard it was wonderful.
I thought it was real. I thought it was good. And I liked that. Because I was afraid that I was hoping, let's put it that way. I was hoping that they didn't make that it didn't make it one-sided of, George's antics and everything's legendary, and we got books and everything else about it. But evidently, which in deeper study and me being a history lover of music of all types.
Right.
It really showed both sides of this bipolar relationship, really, because evidently and noted that she had as many
she had some problems herself,
as George did. So
but
I thought the actors that played in it.
That's cool.
Did a really, really great job.
Did they lip sync?
No, they sang it.
Really? Okay.
Now, Jessica Chastain was the girl who played Tammy, and she did a wonderful job.
Wow. That's awesome.
And, of course, I heard about...
Michael Shannon did play George.
Michael Shannon played George, and he sang. And he did... I heard nothing but shit talk on the internet about why didn't they use the tracks? Why didn't they do this? Well, that was presented as a series, so I'm sure there was TV laws in effect, and the music rights would have been outrageously expensive for all of that to do that, because with it being TV, and streaming. And, I'm sure that's why, but,
well, and plus you've already heard the damn tracks before.
Well, you have,
it's their acting,
but
he did okay.
I thought he did fine. And first of all, if you're a performer of any kind and you've ever covered a song, good and well, you're trying to do it the best you can, but it might not be the best anybody's ever heard it because they've already heard the best.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but I thought it was very brave and very forward thinking of them being able to do it themselves. And I'm sure it put them in a uncomfortable spot as being a actor or actress to now you're portraying the first lady of country music and the greatest singer. She's music,
she's the greatest female singer I ever played with.
Yeah.
And the few nights that I got to back both of them at the same time doing the duets, I wouldn't take $1 million for that. I only did it probably 3 times because usually she would close the shows, and if Jones was still around, he would come back out. But a lot of times he'd be gone, and there were 2 or 3 times, 3 or 4 times, I guess, that Jones closed and Tammy came back out.
Now, when you first started with them, were you how old were you? I know we've covered all this before.
I want to say 24.
Okay,
I may have to double check, but I think it's right around there.
So country music, as far as you were concerned, was
shit. I mean, I had been playing it. In Atlanta. The 5 years I was in Atlanta, there's some wonderful stories in that book, and it's going to explain a lot of stuff.
Right.
But as I said earlier, I was brought up on rock and roll.
Right.
I mean, Mother didn't listen to country. Mother liked big band stuff. She and Daddy used to go see Glenn Miller and the Dorsey Brothers and Benny Goodman. And I mean, in person in New York.
Yeah.
And that was the music that Mother, she loved musicals. We would go to plays. She would bring me from Maryville over to Knoxville, and we would, she definitely kept me and my sister, well-rounded. But no, there was no country music. As far as, we listened to the Opry on Saturday night, then no.
Well,
and in junior high and high, I was just,
sure.
And at that time period, even in the South, if you said you liked country music, it would not have been cool.
Right.
I mean, because you're talking about Hank Snow stuff. And I mean, it was, and once again, I talk about it in there when I started easing into it and, started doing these gigs where you did have to play some country songs and stuff. Yeah. So I would have to, but when I got my first real 6-night a week country, where that's what I was doing for a living.
Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't know shit. I acted like I did.
Yeah.
But
which you went into in the first episode we did. You talked about that.
Yeah. I had some good folks that helped me along. That these days, especially down in Nashville, I'd say if you make one mistake the first time, you're gone.
There's 20 guys sitting right there.
Exactly.
Well, it's like we said about field goal kickers in college, there's only 32 of those jobs moving forward in their career, and there's 1,000 people waiting to try to get one of those jobs.
That's true.
So it's like
that's true.
It's like that with musicians too.
But
you got 3 guys waiting in line, probably, sitting in the audience that night.
It was just a different. Merle Counts, our fiddle player, I don't remember how many times. I mean, it wasn't like a dozen, but more than once, Merle, he would need to pee. He drank so much beer.
Yeah.
He'd just walk off the stage. Jones would be up there singing, I'm not ready yet or something. Merle's about to pee in his pants. He'd go. I mean, it was a different deal back then.
Yeah.
The handlers and the entourage and the publicists and all that shit.
Yeah.
It was a different deal.
It was
back
the Wild
then.
Wild West.
And I wouldn't, as I said, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah.
Even though now, I don't listen to a lot of country music. If I listen to country music, I'm going to be listening to Gary Stewart. That's pretty much for the last 30 years. That's the way I've been. But, if I hear a Waylon song or a Cash song, I'm going to enjoy it, or a Haggard song or something, I'm going to like it, but I'm just, it's just, I'm liable to put on Hendrix or, Zeppelin or 38 Special or, Delbert McClinton or Freddie King or Albert King or the stuff that, and you know what? There's room for everybody.
Absolutely. And the more you listen and the more you educate your ears, it's just going to make you better too, in my opinion.
Exactly.
I mean, you got to have a little bit of something from all of it to come up with the right flavor,
Exactly.
For style. I mean, style's based on a lot of different things, but, we're tickled to death that you got it done. We're tickled to death that you're here. And, folks, if you get a chance again, you'll be seeing this and having plenty of time, to order it for the holidays. If you've got a music lover in your life, of any kind, any genre, go out and get yourself, go to Amazon.com or, Amazon and, kick it off.
There you go. Sit down, have you a nice cold Coca-Cola or something.
On the Road with George Jones, written and lived by our good friend Mark T.
So someone asked me, was it tough writing it? And I said, no, but it was hell living it.
Watch you're kicking the camera there, buddy. Careful.
Sorry. It was me.
Okay. But at any rate, so say that again. I'm sorry. I caught that.
Someone said, was it tough writing the book? And I said, it wasn't tough writing it, but it was living it.
Yeah. Yeah, I could say that.
But thank you, Jamie and Mike, for having me up here.
Oh, you're very welcome.
We just...
Did the Romeos make a book? Any in the book?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Great. If you're not familiar with that story, so a good friend of ours, J.C. Hahn, who's also been a guest on the podcast, he had met Mark through a Craigslist ad about coming to play music again for a little bit, and J.C. turned us on to Mark, and Mark on to us, and that's how we met. But
he said they work out quite a bit. Do you want to do it? And I said, yeah, I'll talk to him. He goes, it's pretty much country. I said, well, okay, give me his number. And so that,
yeah,
I met you out at Carl's place.
Yeah.
And you gave me a cassette or a CD or something.
Yeah.
And I guess we rehearsed over at Chip Maynard's place.
We did for a little while, and
it was hot up in that garage.
Yeah, it was hot. We had that little spot at Chip's for a little while, and because we'd been doing it at Andy's, and then we got Chip had that garage, that attic.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was
Oh
hot.
my God! But we got ready for we killed them down at Hippie Jack's.
Yeah.
We did that 11:45 a.m. Saturday morning show.
Yeah, we day rocked
absolutely ripped it.
Yeah.
They were out there stoking one, smoking joints and slugging moonshine at 11:45.
That they were.
It was fun.
Funny.
And then there was a blank fest at the Romeos down at the pub one afternoon.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we killed it on that one.
Yeah.
Those are some Romeos gigs that just stand out to me. Yeah. But boy, we had some fun.
We did, and
we'll do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we appreciate the friendship. We appreciate each and every one of you tuning in again this week. Just a real quick thing about this cigar. The one I'm smoking, I didn't know what it was. This is a Intemperance EC. And what is that, Jamie?
18? The number 18, yeah.
Intemperance EC18 from Romacraft, which is pretty unusual with Romacraft that they're with a Connecticut wrapper. But man, this is a really good cigar. I don't know what the MSRPs are on this thing and all that stuff, but In standard Twain's notes, so you get toast notes of cinnamon, citrus, and in the first half, second, third, butter, cedar, and diesel and peanuts. Sourdough bread, more citrus.
Sourdough bread.
I don't know about the sourdough bread, but I definitely get
Tastes like
the
sour
butter.
Kush the other day.
Yeah. But I definitely get a lot of the other taste and notes, and I'll be definitely probably trying to find me, unless they're just incredibly expensive. I'll probably at least get me a 10-pack of these. It was that good.
Oh wow.
Yeah, very, very good. That's the Roma Craft Intemperance EC 18. And
pretty cool little idea they got there with that mystery cigar stuff.
Yeah, we need to try to talk to he's out in Nashville, so we should try to maybe do a Zoom with him at some point, maybe get him on the podcast to talk about it. But and of course, I know how you feel about yours. The Cabana.
Oh yeah, buy as many of these you can get.
Yeah,
because they're cheap and they're fantastic, man.
Yeah.
You just can't.
December 29th.
Yes, sir.
8 p.m.
Barley's, 8 p.m. Well, actually, no. Let's back up.
Yeah.
6 p.m.
There you go.
6 to 8 p.m., December the 29th, Barley's, Knoxville, Old City. Going to be the official kickoff book release party for Kick It Off on the Road with George Jones. I'm going to be down there. Got a special guest coming in from California, going to be spinning some records. At 8 o'clock, Mick Harrison and the High Score is going to take the stage. May even hear a couple of those new ones that we just recorded. I don't know. But we're going to have some fun for a while and then turn things over to John Davis, and then Adeem the Artist, Mercy Lights. And who knows? There could maybe be some more. I think Benny Smith's going to be there. Wayne Bledsoe's going to be there.
Oh, it'll be packed.
It'll be I think originally Mick was going to call it Capricorn Utopia.
Well, that's pretty good.
Well, and I said, how about Capricornication?
That's pretty.
I don't think that one's going to make it. But anyway, once again, though, thanks guys for having me.
You're very welcome. Hey, just a little reminder: December 22nd at the Bijou Theater, from 7 to 9 p.m. We'll be doing the 12th annual Mike McGill Christmas Spectacular. We'll have a big time. You can wake up the neighbors and call the kids. We'll be having more fun than humans should be allowed. It is a benefit for Second Harvest Food Bank, Food for Kids program of East Tennessee. Your $20 ticket will provide 60 meals for a child, and $100 feeds a child for an entire year. All proceeds will be going to them. So help us sell that thing out. We've been fairly close in the past. We've been averaging around 500 people, and we need it to 761. That would be the sellout number. So
cool.
Pay attention to all the social media stuff. We'll be posting stuff here on the podcast with little reminders. We'll have a few guests that also will be on the show, and we'll talk more in detail about the show and how it all came about in further episodes. Jamie, you want to do another one?
Sure.
Folks, you heard it here first. Be kind to one another. It doesn't cost any money at all to be kind. And in these days, we need it more than ever. But there's always a certain price to be paid for cruelty. One more for the good guys. Cheers. You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find.